The worst feeling? I felt the dumbest one in my class. Have you ever had that feeling where you stood up in class, the professor asked you a question, and your classmates were like, that's an easy one. Like, it's as if that was a bonus question, but you didn't get it. And then everyone started laughing at you or making faces like they were disappointed in you. Ugh, I just felt that. I mean, that was not my first time to have moments like that, but that was the worst. The worst. Ugh. Anyway, I got into my apartment crying. My friends knew I was not okay, but no one bothered to say something like, you know what, Tin, that was fine. You can do better next time. No, it was like after class, I felt completely isolated from them. So when I expected to be comforted, well, I wasn't. Then I got devastated. That recitation was a bit embarrassing on my part. I guess the downside about me is that I am still in the process of learning how to accept failure. But anyhow, I expected a friend to comfort me, but no one did. So back in my apartment again, I immediately sat in a chair, cried for a little while, opened my laptop, and played a worship song. I remember listening to Hillsong's Jesus, I Need You over and over again because that song somehow spoke to what I was feeling at the time. I never wanted to feel alone, so I ran to God. Before that happened, though, I stumbled upon a story from World War II. I can't remember the exact details, but I do remember that there were fleas inside their room and their living conditions were just not ideal. And the other person said, okay, I know what we're going to do. Then the other one asked, what? And she said, we should give thanks to God, even for the bad things that happen. So when I remember the story, I just did it on myself. So even though it was hard for me to do the same, I praised God that I did. So I thanked Him even for the embarrassment I felt. I thanked Him even when I felt so alone. I thanked Him even when things didn't go well for me that time. And that was not easy, I tell you. I could have gotten angry at myself. I could have asked Him, why did that happen to me? Why did you let me be embarrassed in front of everyone when you know that I don't like that feeling? So instead, I tried to recall the things I did before that class. So here's what happened. I had actually prayed for something from Him. I prayed something not thinking it would work immediately. I prayed the if not prayer. The if not prayer, guys, for a little context, an if not prayer is what I would call when Jesus prayed to the Father in Gethsemane. You know, when Jesus prayed before the Lord that if it were possible, He would take away the cup of suffering He was to bear. I somehow prayed the same prayer before the class started. So I went to the comfort room at school. Usually that's where I pray. I know it's the least comfortable or favorable place to be in, but that's the only place at school where I could actually be alone. So at the time, I prayed for guidance, confidence, and wisdom as I normally would, but something had changed in my prayer. I said these exact words. I pray all these in accordance with your will, but if not, I will still run to you. So yeah, basically, I believed God humbled me that time. And when I did get a taste of my own medicine, I just praised God that I was indeed able to run to Him just as I had prayed. Not because of my own strength or my own ability to run to Him, but because He has always invited us to cast our burdens on Him. If we are sad, He is ready to listen. If we are exhausted, He is more than willing to give us comfort. If we feel so down, He reminds us that we have a purpose in life. So when I failed to get encouragement from my friends, He was there, ready to take away any negative feeling. And to be reminded that He is King and Lord of Lords, who died on the cross for my sins and who is greater than any problem in life, tell me, how could I not be comforted by that? When I recall that I had actually prayed that prayer, I felt like I was worthy of attention. Because if everything had gone well at the time, I wouldn't have believed that that kind of prayer could actually work. I am not saying that every bad recitation happened because I prayed that if not prayer. No. There are times when I perform poorly because I didn't study well, but that time was different because I had spent almost 8 hours studying, so it felt as if I had no excuse for not giving a good performance, right? Now, for self-reflection, who would you run to if you had a bad day? If you've come this far, thank you so much for watching, and I pray that you will come to know how much Jesus wants to have a relationship with you. Accept that invitation, my friend.